So far that we have discussed about the PAN contract and PwC 203A standard form of contract. In these videos, we're going to briefly discuss through the other standard form of contract. First, let us look at the JKR Salamat form of contract. This JKR Salamat form of contract is normally used for the construction project related to the Sarawak state of government, especially for those projects issued by the JKR Sarawak. JKR is the Public Work Department, and in Malaysia, we have the Public Work Department for the federal as well as the Public Work Department for the state. As the name of the form of contract implies, this is the form of contract used by the JKR Sarawak. It was said that this JKR Sarawak form of contract is also applicable for the private sector's contract. Personally, I'm not aware of any private sector's project using the JKR Sarawak form of contract. This form of contract have several versions. The first version was in 1961. It was then revised in 2000, and now the third version it will be 2006. Next, we look at the Ecidp form of contract. As implied by the name, it is produced by the Ecidp Malaysia. The full name it will be the Construction Industry Development Board Malaysia. Ecidp is an organization established under the Construction Industry Development Board Act 1994. Its purpose is to regulate, develop and facilitate the construction industry of Malaysia towards achieving global competitiveness. Whoever involved with the constructions in Malaysia will know Ecidp. This Ecidp form of contract appears in two versions. The first one, it will be Ecidp standard form of contract for building works, edition year 2000. The other one, it will be Ecidp standard form of subcontract for nominated subcontractor. This is very similar to the PAN contract, where the PAN contract also have the PAN contract, and there will be another version which is the PAN subcontract for the nominated subcontractor. Currently, Ecidp form of contract is not widely adopted in the construction industry. Next, it will be the Iem form of contract. This is produced by the Institute of Engineers Malaysia, Iem, and it appears in three forms. The first one is the Iem form of contract for civil engineering work. That will be the third editions, released in 2017. The second one is the Iem form of contract for mechanical and electrical engineering works, also in the third editions. This form of contract separate the words for civil engineering from the mechanical and electrical engineering, so that it fits better under the setting of mechanicals and electrical engineering. There is also another standard form for the nominated subcontractors for the engineering works. In this case, there won't be any separations between civil engineering, mechanicals and electrical engineering. This form of contract are normally designed to cater for the projects in the private sectors. The use of Iem form of contract is not popular. Now they are used primarily for the substructure works and infrastructure works on large developments. The Iem form of contract contain many provisions which are similar to those contained in PWD standard form of contract, which place substantial obligations on the contractor Probably this is the main reason that the Iem form of contract is unpopular. Other than that, we have JKR PWD form DB/T editions 2002. This is by far the only domestic standard form of contract for a turnkey contract. We have discussed about the concept of turnkey in our previous videos. Simply said, the turnkey project will have the construction company to provide all the services, including the design, build, as well as the project management services all together, minimizing the participations of the employer in the construction project. The contractor will have to resolve all the problems and hand over the completed work in good conditions within the stipulated durations of time as well as the allocated budget. This form of contract is very similar to the PWD form of contract 203, where the risks are bound by the contractor. Also, the government produce extensive administrative forms and documentations to be used together with this form of contract to further enhance the managing and monitoring the project. Next, it will be PWD D/B 2007. It is the only standard form of contract used for the design and build project. We have also discussed about the design and build contract in the previous videos. Comparison were also made between the design and build contract and the turnkey project. Simply said, the design and build project is different from the conventional construction project, where the contractors undertaking the project will need to cover the design tasks for the construction project. Nevertheless, the employer still have the authority over the project, including managing the schedules, the contractors, as well as the budget. Similar to the other PWD contract, there will be extensive administrative forms and documents to be used together with this standard form of contract. Next, we talk about AISC standard form of contract. AISC stands for the Asian International Arbitration Center, which is established for dispute resolutions. For example, in a construction project, when there is conflict or dispute between the two parties which cannot be resolved, this will require a third party which is professional and accountable to help resolving the dispute. These are some features for the AISC standard form of contract. First and foremost, the AISC standard form of contract is an unified building contract. This standard form of contract does not distinguish between with or without the quantity as most of the contracts do. As discussed in the previous videos, we talk about the pen contract can be with and without the quantities. There will be slight differences in terms of the clause in the pen contract. Also, for the PWD form of contract 203 or 203A, it is in fact the separations between those with quantities and without quantities. 203A is with the bill of quantities and 203 is without the bill of quantities, which in the case of AISC, it is structured under one single contract without distinguishing between the with or without quantities. Next is the introductions of contract administrator. It incorporates checks and balance mechanism and empower the responsibility vested on the contract administrators. Typically, under the PAN contract, the architect will be the contract administrator. This Aisc standard form of contract allows the employer to appoint an administrator for the contract. However, if no appointment is made by the employer, the architect shall be by default assumed as the contract administrator. In another word, the contract administrator can be other personnel, not necessarily the architect. It is only when the employer silent on this, the architect will be automatically considered as the contract administrator. Next, Aisc standard form of contract is CHIPA compliance. That means it takes into account the provisions of CHIPA 2012. Now, what is CHIPA? CHIPA stands for the Government Industrial Payment and Adjudication Act 2012. It is an act specially designed for the construction industry in Malaysia related to the payment and adjudications. The adjudications is related to the dispute matters arise within the construction project, which is often related to the payment. Another unique characteristic of this Aisc standard form of contract is that it pays more emphasis on the continuity of the project. This is in line with the purpose of Aisc, trying to resolve the dispute for a construction project. Often, in the case of disputes, the work progress will be affected. This will result in incomplete works, which is not desirable by any parties under the contracts. Aisc also do not like to see this happen. Therefore, under this standard form of contract, it shall contain more mechanism for parties to resolve disputes and deadlocks, including mediations, encouraging parties to continue works despite dispute while preserving parties' right until completion. That means it provides ways for the parties to be able to continue the work even when the dispute arises, ensuring it is taken care of while preserving the rights of the parties accordingly. Personally, I have no idea how this is accomplished. It seems like this is a way out for the parties who involved in disputes, which at the same time the words can effectively be delivered. For more information, you may refer to their website, and you can download the relevant standard form of contract for free. There are several versions of standard form of contract. There will be standard form of building contract, standard form of building subcontract, standard form of minor works building contract, standard form of design and build contract, as well as standard form of subcontract for build and design contract.